So coming into this chapter, we're seeing that Usami is finding out what had happened at the end of the previous chapter with the Rumelians thinking that humans were killing Kalians on Earth because we saw the Elder crying from his third eye. And the Sumerians can only cry from their third eye for like a set amount of reasons, like when they're born, when they die, and when a Kalian dies. Because Kalians are like linked to them. It's said that the Kalians actually give them cursed energy, or what they refer to as Roluka. And Usami, just like the audience, is saying there must be some kind of mistake. Kalians don't exist on Earth, nor do any similar creatures. And Jopaloma's like, yeah, well, you know, the guy was crying, so we got to figure this out. So naturally, they're going to have to go to Tokyo to see what's up. And we'll get into Tokyo because it's pretty fascinating what's going on there. But we're momentarily cutting away from that, and we're coming to the trio here. And Ruka is explaining to Maru that since cursed spirits became public knowledge to the world back in the original series, the government essentially is lying to everyone, saying that they only can appear in Tokyo. Which obviously is not the truth, because we know that cursed spirits are a result of like cursed energy leaking out of Japanese people and just manifesting that way. So they can appear anywhere a Japanese person is in theory. But in order to mitigate that from happening and just keeping them in Tokyo, they have these warding barriers set up all around it, such as the one we see here, which is in Kyoto. This is just making sure that cursed spirits don't manifest outside of Tokyo. We're also finding out, once this sequence continues later on, that changing the talismans is simple enough, but you gotta be careful of the cursed objects that are placed there to ward off cursed spirits, and that as time passes, the quality of the cursed object changes, and sometimes a ward becomes a beacon. So that's crucial information there, because when I originally saw this ward ball thing, I'm assuming I'm not the only one that thought this is like Sukuna's finger. I mean, it's not confirmed, and we don't know for sure. And I say that because in the very last panel of the very last chapter of the original series, we see one of these shrine things, and it has a Sukuna finger inside of it, the very last one in existence. And a lot of us thought, oh, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's going to be a sequel or something? Does that mean that Sukuna's going to come back in the future? I don't remember what I said exactly. I was probably pretty pessimistic about it, assuming that there is going to be no sequel series, but I was wrong about that, so good. But I don't think it's a coincidence, especially them specifically saying in the follow-up sequence here that as time passes, the quality of the cursed object changes. A cursed object, like there needs to be a cursed object wrapped in these wards. And we know that if a Sukuna finger is just on its own, without the wards wrapped around it, it will attract cursed spirits to it. I mean, that was like one of the big storylines of the first part of the original series anyway. So obviously not every single one of these is a Sukuna finger, but I think at least one of them is. I don't know if it's the one that we see at the beginning of the chapter. I don't know if it's the one that we see in the steps here. I don't know if it's the one that we see towards the end of the chapter, but one of these has got to be a Sukuna finger. Now, if it is, what does that mean exactly? I don't think it means that Sukuna is like gonna come back, because it seems like he's dead. And besides, you would need all 20 fingers to bring him back fully anyway, which don't exist anymore. So your guess is as good as mine, but I would love it if Gege decides to bring the Sukuna finger back into play here, and I don't know, somebody eats it, and then, I don't know, Sukuna's personality comes back in some way. It would be interesting. I don't need Sukuna to come back, but since Yuji and Mahito are coming back, bring Sukuna back too. I mean, at least in some way. Maybe just the finger itself gives a power up to somebody, because I guess in theory it could possibly do that. Maybe, I'm not really sure, but regardless, if Sukuna comes back in some shape or form, I do think that the finger will be used in some way. Hey, also guys, can you please subscribe if you haven't already? I always cover these chapters every Sunday. I'll cover the spoilers when we get enough information about them. And also, I'm going to cover Season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen in January, Part 1, whenever that ends, in April or something, and then Part 2 once we get it maybe in the fall. We're almost at 300K. Let's try to get there before the end of the year. That would be amazing. And let's try to get 3,000 likes on this video too. All you gotta do is just hit that like button on your phone. It'll help me, it'll help the video. Thanks guys, I appreciate it. Now, back to Tokyo. So other than just making sure that cursed spirits don't appear outside of that place, it's no longer accessible to the public. And that's because it's like The Last of Us, but instead of zombies, it's cursed spirits. And speaking of that, they also have like this ritual where they cull the cursed spirits every now and then, called the purification ritual, you know, to keep them in check so they don't spill out of Tokyo. And that's actually going on right now. And we cut to that in Tokyo, and we see a team of 2 sorcerers participating in it. It's that broccoli cut guy that we saw being confrontational with Usami in chapter 10. We're finding out his name in this chapter. It's Yakumaru, and he has like another sword-wielding sorcerer with him. Yakumaru actually has like a gun, which is cool. I don't think we've ever seen a sorcerer use a gun before. It's like some kind of cursed tool gun, which is like sideways on his arm. And as they're going around culling these cursed spirits, they make their way into this building because there's like attention being drawn to it. And they wind up finding a Rumelian in there treating a cursed spirit like it's like a dog or something. And it's because the Rumelians think that cursed spirits on Earth are Callians. However, there's a lot of confusion going on here, so both sides don't truly know what's going on, and Yakumaru just winds up killing the cursed spirit, because why wouldn't he? But at the same time, it's implied that he is attacked by Otsuki here, that Rumelian with the long hair. And once they get outside, Yakumaru's about to just light up the other Rumelians that are approaching. And he's like, your side made a move first. You know, going back to off panel, it seems like Otsuki attacked him because he killed that cursed spirit, which he thought he was a Callian. And luckily, Usami, Cross, and Jabaloma show up just in time, and Usami uses his cursed speech to stop Yakumaru before he starts lighting them up. And Cross starts explaining to Otsuki that, like, hey, this is a cursed spirit, it's not a Callian. And Otsuki's like, well, look, I'm crying. How else can you explain this? And Cross is like, look at the ground, that thing's like disappearing. And Otsuki's like, that's weird. And then Cross explains to him what cursed spirits are. And Usami reveals that all of this really started because they weren't giving the Sumerians enough information about cursed spirits and Jujutsu in the first place. And then also at the same time, the Sumerians weren't supposed to leave their ship without the knowledge of the sorcerers. So they're kind of both at fault here. Like, no one should be in Tokyo at all, let alone the Sumerians. But also, you know, the sorcerers should have told them what was going on. And Usami also reveals that cursed spirits and Callians are very close to being the same thing. Cursed spirits are spiritual creatures and Callians are physical creature. And it's not more explained than that in this chapter, essentially. But even then, what we've seen of Callians, they don't look like cursed spirits. And it was stated that not all Callians look the same, but the Callians that we have seen, even the silhouettes, they all look like Studio Ghibli animals or something. Not weird, freaky creature monster things like this one that's licking Otsuki's face. Like, he should just know, like, oh, this is like a weird thing. I mean, I guess my body feels that it's a Callian, but I don't know. My eyes are telling me a different thing, because his third eye still does cry when a cursed spirit dies. And it makes me think, it's like, why exactly is that happening? And I'm sure once we get more lore revealed on this, there's gonna be like some kind of crazy reveal as to like Callians and cursed spirits and how cursed energy came to be. And hopefully we get into whatever the gods are, the gods that made the Callians. But like I said before, don't hold your breath about that stuff. But in my spoiler video for this chapter, I equated this to kind of like a person eating sugar versus eating like sugar substitute, you know, like sucralose or something. Like, yes, it's not affecting you metabolically the way that sugar would, but your brain for sure knows that you are kind of eating sugar, but it's like confused as to what's going on. So I guess a similar thing's going on with the Rumelians when a cursed spirit dies in relation to a Callian. Because also Cross says, if it was truly a Callian, the strain of those tears would be much greater than what you're feeling right now. Then Cross is like eventually able to calm things down. Because, you know, Cross has been a big proponent in trying to establish peace between the humans and the Sumerians, especially since he just had that simple talk with Ruka a couple chapters back, because before that I absolutely hated Cross. But just as I say that, out of nowhere, Yakumaru shoots Cross. He's like, he reached for his weapon, he made his first move. Because before this sequence, Otsuki referring to Usami apologizing was like, you know, why is he apologizing? And then on the contrast, Yakumaru was like, do we really have to bend over backwards to take fault and grovel to these refugees? Which I guess is showing that Yakumaru is just the Otsuki equivalent of the sorcerers. They're both like just being a problem to this cause. They both don't want to coexist. And Yakumaru, you know, already getting attacked by Otsuki, I guess thought that Cross was going for his sword or something, and straight up shoots him multiple times. He shoots him at least twice, and he goes through him. Like, these are piercing wounds. And of course, chaos erupts. The Sumerians just want blood at this point, until suddenly Dabura shows up. Big Daddy Dabura is here. And he's like, what are you doing? Or at least I think he's saying, what are you doing? That's where the chapter ends. So it's like, uh-oh. He is the strongest guy in the world right now besides Yuji. No one here can take him. So if he decides that he wants to fight, he's probably going to solo everyone. Now, is that going to happen? I doubt it. He might just kill Yakumaru and then be like, eye for an eye. But at the same time, I fully expect Cross to recover from this. I'm assuming the Sumerians definitely have reverse curse technique. And if any of them are able to use it, it's probably Cross and Maru, because they seem to be like prodigies with Rololuka, or, you know, using alien jujitsu. Just taking a guess. We haven't seen anything like that yet, or at least I'm pretty sure we haven't. But it seems like this is going to be solved by that. But it's not going to solve the fact that Yakumaru decided to kill him. And this might finally be the catalyst for war here. I mean, I don't know for sure. We are only 12 chapters in. I don't know how many chapters the series is going to run, because Gege said that it's going to be short and intensely compact, and it'll be about 6 months worth of work if it's not canceled, so about 3 volumes worth. And it started in September, so we're about 3 months in, meaning that in theory we only have about 3 months left, and the first volume is coming out, and that covers chapters 1 through 7. So that means we're only gonna have like 21 chapters in this series, 22, maybe 25. So we're about halfway through the series right now. But I just have a feeling that Dabura is going to try to surprisingly diplomatically solve this, because while Dabura does care about Cross and Maru, especially because Dora asked him to protect them along with the rest of the Rumelians, Dabura himself is different than them. He's a Deskunte. So I doubt he's exactly bloodlusted over this, but I could also see him being like, okay, well, you guys are going to have to do something to make up for this, which could go into the sorcerers allocating all of their resources and energy into getting the black rope from Africa or wherever it is to undo that death curse that was put on his sister by the rest of the Deskuntes back on Sumeria. And I don't think we're immediately going to go into the whole big duel thing that was set up a couple chapters ago, which is why Dabura killed Dora in the first place, because it was also set up that that's eventually going to happen. At least it seems that way. And that the sorcerers are going to have to find Yuji and have him fight against Dabura. And if that starts already, then we can start assuming that this series is going to end in 3 months maybe, or even sooner than that. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments, guys. If you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.